Seeing black teachers, black pilots, black immigration officers, everything was black, everything was Caribbean.
Everything was
and that wasn't something that I was accustomed to.
I'm Chantal Miller, proud Navision and Jamaican, and founder of Island Girls Rock. On this podcast, we champion women of the Caribbean and its diaspora, encouraging them to share their stories in a space created to celebrate them. It's equal parts fun, informative, and always engaging. Welcome to our tribe. On this episode, we journey back to Barbados again and speak to author of Loving the Brothers, Pamela R. Haynes. Really looking forward to this conversation as we touch on domestic abuse, Bimshire pride, and food, of course. Welcome to the show. So, Pamela, I always start off our conversations by asking two questions, the same questions to all the guests. Who are you? Who is Pamela Haynes?
Pamela Haynes is a mother first. Between my husband and I, we have 5 children.
Right.
2 from his previous marriage, 2 from my previous marriage, and we have a son together. Pam is also a sister. One of 5 siblings, and I'm the eldest, and that comes with all the responsibilities of being the eldest child. I am first generation British, so my parents are from Barbados.
Both parents are from Barbados?
Both parents are from Barbados. They came to the UK for different reasons. My dad came up when he was 21 on a 4-month work contract and stayed ever since. And my mother came up when she was 15 years old, when her mother passed away. And she came up here to join her father, who had been up here from the late 40s, early 50s. So both came to the UK for different reasons, and they met here.
That's lovely.
Pam is an author.
Yes,
now,
you are.
That's a
We're going to talk about that. Yes.
To add to all the other things that I've been doing, and it's taken a while for me to become accustomed and embrace that that title. But yes, that's who Pam
another
is.
feather in your cap.
Yeah.
Wonderful. A wonderful feather, by the way. So you've already answered my second question in a way, because we always ask, what island are you repping?
Barbados.
We've had one other person from Barbados here already, actually. Samantha Williams, Book Love. So, I guess on average, Barbados is winning right now in terms of guests. But we'll see what we can do about that. So, Pam, again, welcome to the show. Now, you spoke about your latest feather in your cap, author. So, I'm going to ask you this. Why do you actually think you're here? What is your purpose?
And I've given that lots of thought, and it's a shame that I've had to get to a milestone birthday to actually recognise what my purpose is.
Can we be cheeky and ask which milestone?
I am 50 years old.
What?
For 50 years and blessed.
All the oils, people. All the oils. Because if you see Pamela, she's definitely using all the oils. Yep. Right.
That's where I think my purpose has come from, to make sure that I get the word out there about domestic abuse. And I use the word abuse rather than domestic violence, because domestic violence gives people the excuse to say, well, actually, he's not beating me, so this doesn't apply to me. So we look at all the other forms of domestic abuse as well. And I think my platform here is to raise those issues for women to recognise their situation and take action, because that's not love.
Well, we'll definitely dive into that a bit more, because it features predominantly in your book, Loving the Brothers. So we'll definitely dive into that a bit more. So we've already established that you're a BIM girl. You're from Barbados. Your parents are from Barbados.
That's right.
When did you fall in love? When did your love affair with Barbados begin?
My love affair with Barbados started way back in 1980. When we were living in Canning Town, my mother brought all the girls into the bedroom. Shut the door behind you, draw the curtains, and in whispers, we're going home. Yeah.
And she said, we're going home.
We're going home.
Okay.
And you mustn't tell anyone that you're traveling, you know.
Right.
So we had to sit on this secret for weeks and weeks.
And you did?
And we did. Oh, I wouldn't dare break whatever code that was and tell anyone. And we flew out to Barbados in 1980, so I was 12 years old.
Right.
My sister was 11, and my baby sister was 2 years old. And I still remember meeting relatives at the airport. We were all dressed all poshly, because back then you had to dress to go home.
You sure
did.
did.
You were showing people, these are my children, these are my offspring. So we were on show. Going to Barbados for the first time, I remember the heat, how hot everything was, and we weren't accustomed to it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember staying with our relatives in Pool Tennant in St. John.
Right. And that's a parish.
St. John's the parish, and Pool Tennant's little village that we stayed in. Mm-hmm. I remember the cane fields and how tall they were, opposite our house. I remember meeting relatives for the first time and getting confused, not quite sure who was uncle, who was who was our granddad, who was our great aunt, and everyone inspecting us, really. So it was phrases like, girl, you look like your grandmother,
Say that again, because the Bayesian accent is one accent I cannot do.
It's, girl, you look like your grandmother.
You look like your grandmother.
Yeah.
No, I still sound division.
Okay, you'll get there. But we never met our grandmothers, so we didn't know who we looked like. We didn't know where we got our complexion from, where we got our nose from, where we got our attitude from. But it was a revelation in terms of realising not much family in the UK, not much family in London, but so much family in Barbados. And that was, my uncle got tired of...
I've had the privilege of reading, and the name of the book is Loving the Brothers.
Yes.
And you very kindly gave me a signed copy. Hey!
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. The first thing that struck me was that, because I don't know what my expectations were. I think I was expecting Barbados to be all over the book. But all the main characters are Jamaican.
Yes.
Why did you choose to do that? Why Jamaicans?
I have other books coming. Mm-hmm. So in my other books, I'll be covering Barbadians, I'll be covering Asian people, I'll be covering, There
are more books in you.
There are more books in me. Loving the Brothers is a trilogy. So Loving the Sisters, hoping to release that in November.
Amazing.
And then Loving the Children. Will come after that. So there's domestic abuse is so wide, and the spectrum in terms of victims and perpetrators, it's so wide. I needed to start somewhere.
Okay.
Growing up in Canning Town, we were surrounded by lots of Jamaican families.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the church I went to was predominantly Jamaican.
Okay.
Yeah, they brought their faith with them from the Caribbean to this country. They weren't always welcomed in established churches, so they started their own churches in their front rooms. And if that's my experience, that's where I have to start from.
That's where you start.
Yeah,
okay.
So that's where I grasp my experience and my knowledge from. So I started with the Jamaican, community, and I've tried to keep it as authentic as I can.
You have.
Oh, thank you.
You have done an amazing job, Pam. You really have.
I've been to Jamaica. I've been blessed to go to Jamaica twice. So the first time I stayed in Montego Bay, the second time in Ocherias. So although part of the book is based in Negril, I hope that I was able to capture how beautiful the island is, how beautiful the people are as well, and to do Jamaica justice in the book.
Okay. And as we've mentioned, your experience working with victims and perpetrators of domestic abuse, and that features heavily in the book. That is a thread that a common thread that a few of the main characters share from both sides of the equation. And so my question for you is this surrounding domestic abuse. In the Caribbean, we have a huge problem with domestic abuse. But in terms of the resources and the facilities to support survivors and victims, it's still growing. How do you see perhaps you telling this story actually helping and impacting on the views of women who are going through this, and not just women but people, because both men and women are victims of domestic abuse, and I think that's really important that we say that. How do you see you telling this story as actually helping victims and survivors of domestic abuse, especially those experiencing this in the Caribbean?
I mean, I can't get everywhere. I can't get around the world.
No.
But the wonderful thing about having a book is that you can use it as a platform. My book is being read in Australia.
Yes.
It's being read in New Zealand. It's being read in America. And it's been read, more importantly, in the Caribbean as well.
It is.
And I know that the book is in Barbados because, thanks to Amazon, you can get to read reviews from people, all over. And what's really good about the book is that it resonates with people wherever they happen to be in the world. So awareness is already being raised in Trinidad, it's being raised in Jamaica, it's being raised in Barbados. So I'm hoping to use it as a platform that at some stage I will be invited to the Caribbean to be a guest speaker, and perhaps through the University of the West Indies. And I've got a few connections throughout the Caribbean, people who have already asked me to come to Antigua next year, because what I want to happen is a community response to domestic violence, so an international response. I mean, for example, if a woman's in danger in Barbados, she can't move to the next gap. He'll find her. They can't move to St. Lucie. The island is so tiny.
Yes.
Women will be found.
Yes.
So I'm looking at a Caribbean response to domestic abuse where the woman perhaps may move island.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, we can take St. Lucian women in who need safety, so people are spread around the Caribbean for their own safety. So that's what I would want to be pressing the government.
I absolutely
for.
love that vision. Really do. And if there's any way that IGR can support you, just let us know.
Well, we have CARICOM, don't we, that do other things. So I'm hoping that there's a kind of CARICOM response to keep women safe.
Yeah, it's that simple, isn't it? Keep women safe. So my next question for you, Pam, is this. We know that you believe women of colour, especially those from the Caribbean, we should tell our own stories more. This is something that you've been very vocal about. How do you feel about the way we are presently represented in terms of print, TV, film, and media in general? And do you think we should be pushing for more representation to tell our stories in those areas as well?
Well, one thing about being an author is that I also love to read.
Right.
And I have found myself, the older I get, moving away from established Black African American authors and moving more towards Caribbean authors. So I'm discovering them. And what I like about the book club that you do, you introduce Caribbean authors that I would not necessarily have heard of. Yes. So I'm thinking about the book about the woman from Barbados. I think her name is Naomi.
Yes, Naomi's book. I can't remember the name right now.
The Bright Side of Bird Hill.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was for me. It was so refreshing to see a Caribbean coming of age story.
Absolutely.
It was beautiful to read that.
Yes.
Because when you think of coming of age stories, you typically envision, as you said, a film, or it's either Black American or just not even Black people, because apparently we don't have these beautiful summer experiences. Yeah. I completely agree with you.
So I'm discovering, writers like that who are writing from a Caribbean perspective. And I feel when I read those books as though I'm there with them and I know the stories, I think they fly in from the States, don't they?
Yes.
And
the whole ritual of spending the summer.
That's right.
Back home.
That's right. And I have done that.
Yes.
But I do think that we are underrepresented in terms of print. I think that more women should be encouraged to write their stories down, and I believe that all women have a story in them, whether it's a coming of age or growing up in the UK or in my book, domestic abuse. Yes. But I do believe that all women have a story, poetry, and we should be looking to smaller publishing houses to print our stories as well. And there are quite a few Black-owned publishing houses that we should be supporting in terms of making sure that our work gets out there.
Okay. Can you give us the names of a few?
Well, my publisher is Marcia M. Spence Publishing House. They're based in Birmingham.
Okay.
And I found her by attending an event, and I just happened to be sitting on the same table as her.
Okay.
And she had a stack of her books that she had just published called Geraldine's Pearl. And I said to her, you know what, one day I'm going to write a book. So we swapped details. Yeah. And then got back in touch with her when I had written something down. And from then on, it's just been a timetable of when to get things in, when to submit my manuscript, going backwards and forwards about, how, the whole publishing process. And, fortunately, my book was published on the 8th of January this year. Yes. And it's been a roller coaster ever
I've been following your journey on social media. Yeah. You're very good at social media. I've been following you and all the press that you've been getting. Well done. Congratulations, Pam. I don't think I've even congratulated you on publishing your first novel. Your first.
Yep. And I got it done.
We're looking for the others.
I got it done 8 weeks before my 50th birthday, which I was really, really pleased about, because I didn't want to go into, sometimes you go into your 50s and then suddenly you get caught up with something else, and then you lose your dreams about what you want to do. I wanted my 50s to be the start of my dreams and getting them done. And sometimes it can be overwhelming. I mean, when I first had work published in an article published in a newspaper, there was 2 newspapers in the same week, and it was Windrush Week, and it just felt, the first generation British woman has, is finally in print. Yes. My parents are just ever so proud of me as well.
They must be. Mm-hmm. So you had, I think, I'm just going to go back a little bit. You had the book launch. When was it? Was it February?
In February. Yeah.
Yes. Were your parents able to attend? Or
yes, my parents were here. Yeah, they were here from Barbados. They were up the front. Mm-hmm. My mum said she felt like the bride's mother. Okay. Because all of my friends, family, colleagues, people who had heard about the book launch came over to her and introduced themselves. And my publisher is very good, because I use a lot of Beigerisms, I suppose you call them, in the book as well. So she wanted to know what cheese on bread meant, and my dad took pleasure.
Could you actually say
cheese on bread?
Cheese on bread.
Yeah.
All right then.
So my dad took pleasure in telling people what that meant, and so it was really, really nice that people were really, really welcoming and friendly towards them as well. So they had a good time.
I'm really happy that they were able to witness that. They must be proud. They have to be proud. So Pam, what's next for Loving the Brothers? Where are you going to be making your next appearances, or, leading any workshops on writing or domestic abuse? What's happening?
Well, I attended an event called Conversation Cafe.
Ah, okay. Yeah. All right.
Which led me full circle back to Canning Town, where I grew up. So I thought that was quite poignant as well. The very first speaking engagement that I get to do is back at Canning Town, in Canning Town Library. Wow. And I would say about 17 women showed up for that. They joined a mothers group, and they joined their regular group, which is a domestic abuse group. They joined them together. Okay. And I think it was important for the women who had just had children to be aware of the issues around domestic abuse. So I touched on basically my life story. I touched on my book journey, and trying to encourage the women to tell their stories as well, even if you don't want to tell them to anybody else, but get a book and do journaling. Just write down what their current experiences are and what they're feeling, because that's therapeutic in itself as well.
And do you see yourself doing more of that?
Every time I speak, every time I go on the radio, every time I go on TV, people are contacting me wanting to know whether they are victims of domestic abuse. Really? And I think that's a shame, really, that it's so entrenched.
Identify.
No, which is why I use domestic abuse and not domestic violence, because people know what domestic violence is, but they're not certain whether they are victims of domestic abuse. And so I have done one-to-one work with women around domestic abuse.
Off the back of Loving the Brothers?
All off the back of the book. As I said, it's just given me a platform to be able to talk about what the issues are. So I've talked to people on a one-to-one. I've also signposted people onto other services, which I'm really pleased to be able to do. So some of our women are in counselling and therapy, which I'm really pleased about. And people have just reached out, on WhatsApp. You just never know. And which is why I'm encouraging the Island Girls Rock women, just be a sister friend to someone else.
Absolutely.
Whether that's a work colleague, whether that's a cousin, a sister, your own mother, but be a sister friend to someone, because 1 in 3 women experience domestic abuse in her lifetime. And we know where this can end up. 2 women in the UK die each week as a result of domestic abuse by a current or former partner. So it's something that needs addressing.
So what we need to do is, because your book has definitely resonated, it's impacted, people are opening up.
That's right.
So we need to sell more of your books and get more people reading your book. It's an important piece of work, and it's accessible.
Yes.
It makes, and not to make light of domestic abuse at all in any way, form or shape, but it's easily understood. So where can people purchase your book?
The book on Amazon. So it's there on Kindle, and you can also get a hard copy as well. So amazon.co.uk.
And where can we find you on the interwebs? Where can we find you?
I am everywhere, as you know. I've stepped up my social media game.
All right. So what's your handle?
So I'm on Instagram at Loving the Brothers Author. I'm on Facebook as Pamela R. Haynes. I also have a Loving the Brothers Facebook page. I'm on Twitter at Pam Haynes.
Pam.
Yeah. So I'm all over.
Okay, brilliant. Pamela, it's been really lovely having this conversation with you, finding out what's been happening since the amazing launch of Loving the Brothers. Once again, thank you for our signed copy.
No problem.
We're definitely looking forward to supporting you as much as we can as your journey continues. Thank you for the work that you're doing and for the lives that you're changing, the lives that you are touching. We just want you to know that you're appreciated. And thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Island Girls Rock podcast. If you like what you hear, and we really hope you do, please subscribe, rate, or even comment. We'd really love to hear from you. You can catch every episode of Island Girls Rock podcast on Acast, Apple, Castbox, or your favorite podcast app. You can connect with us on Twitter and Instagram using IGR_love or with hashtag IslandGirlsRockPod. You can also visit islandgirlsrock.com to find out more about who we are and what we do. This podcast was produced by Unedited for the Unedited Stories Network. See you again soon.